Hello and welcome to today's practice called Crow Flow. The sequence today is centered around preparing the body for the crow pose. The props that you might want are two blankets, two blocks, and a yoga strap. One blanket can go across the center of your mat, and your other blanket can actually go to the back short side of the mat off the mat. We are going to do a movement that's a gliding movement, sort of a sliding motion back and forth between a squat and then a plank position. And in order to do that, you'll really need to be on a floor that you're able to slide. So if you're practicing on carpet, once we get there, I'll give you an alternative option for you to just either hold in the squat pose or the plank pose versus doing the sliding motion. We are going to begin in the wide-kneed child's pose. So you can take your knees to your yoga blanket, bring your big toes together, take your knees out wide, and then you're going to go ahead and let your body fold forward. I like this particular shape to begin today's practice because it brings the hip region into hip flexion. And that is an action that we need in order to be able to get into the crow pose, that strong flexion at the hips. So just take a few moments, do any sort of little movements or wiggling around until eventually you feel ready to sink and to settle into your wide kneed child's pose. Feeling the subtle shifts that are occurring in your body as a result of the circulation of your breath. Let's take one more full cycle of inhalation and exhalation here. We're going to transition the body into tabletop shape. So letting your hips start to rise up, adjusting your hands. Let's move the knees so that they're back underneath of the hips. Hands are a little bit wider than the shoulders. Going to inhale and start to tip the belly down to the floor, lifting up through the heart, opening up the front plane of the torso. As you're exhaling, you're going to bring the spine more toward neutral. Anchor the balls of the feet into the floor a bit while sending your sitting bones back toward your heels. Coming into this extended child's pose position. And then let's do that a few times. You're going to breathe in and let your hips come back up. Allow your belly to release. Untuck the toes. Lift through the heart. Exhale more neutral with the spine. Press the balls of the feet into the floor and start to send the sitting bones back to the heels. Draw your chin slightly in. Soften your gaze. And then let's do it one more time. Inhale, come back up. Release through the belly, tabletop with cow tilt, lift through the heart. Exhale, neutral, balls of the feet anchor, sitting bones sink toward the heels. Inhale, come back up, release the belly. Now we're going to do some pulsing between cow tilt in tabletop and downward dog. And we want that movement to really come from engaging through the belly and the pelvic floor. So as you're exhaling, draw your belly in, engage the pelvic floor, and then start to allow your knees to lift away from the floor, coming into downward facing dog. And then we'll do that two more times. You're going to breathe in and lightly lower the knees. Let the belly release once again. Lift through your heart. And then as you're exhaling, draw your belly in, press the balls of the feet in, and just this light lift of the knees, downward facing dog. Okay, and then one more time, inhale, lower the knees, release through the belly, lift through the heart, tone the belly, engage the muscles of the pelvic floor, and then start to float the knees away from the floor. Now we're here and we'll hold for a little longer period of time so you can just start to walk out through your knees and your feet. You can adjust your feet as you wish so they can stay frontal hip bone distance apart, but they can always go a little wider as well. This pose starts to increase a little warmth in the body. The warmth helps create greater openness in the muscles. And this pose also begins to strengthen through the arm muscles, the arm bones. Right, one more round of inhalation and exhalation. Okay, we're going to take the gaze upward to that space between the hands. You can start to walk your feet forward. You're going to bring the body into the forward fold. So as you land here, feet hip bone distance apart, hands on blocks or shins. Inhale, lift through the belly. Reach out through the crown of the head, and then exhale as you fold back in to the legs. Inhale, lift the belly, reach out through the crown of the head, shoulders lie down the back, and then exhale, fold in. Okay, one more time. Inhale, lift through the belly, reach out through the crown of the head, and then as you're exhaling, fold into the legs. Now, breathing in, bend your knees, begin to reverse your swandas. Circle sweeping, rising upward, prayer hands connecting and drawing down into your heart space. Just a few half salutes to continue that warming process. So inhale, circle sweep, reach your arms by your ears, prayer hands connecting, coming through the heart, bend the knees, fold the body forward into the legs. Inhale, lift the belly, reach out through the crown of the head, hands on the blocks, the shins, or the floor, and exhale, fold in toward the legs. So you're inhaling, begin to bend your knees, circle sweep, reach your arms up. Exhale, prayer hands join and simply draw them down into the heart. Inhale, circle sweep. Exhale, prayer hands through the heart, fold forward over the legs, bow in. Inhale, lift the belly, halfway lift. Exhale, fold into the legs. Inhale, reverse the swan dive, circle sweep. Exhale, prayer hands join and draw them down into your heart. Inhale one more time, circle sweep, fingertips stretching nice and long. Exhale, prayer hands through the heart, fold the body into the legs. Inhale, lift the belly, reach out through the crown of the head, shoulders down the back. Exhale, folding into the legs. Inhale, bend the knees and reverse, circle sweep. Exhale, prayer hands connecting and coming down into the heart. Inhale, sweep the arms back up by the ears. This time, let your right hand catch hold of your left wrist. And we're going to exhale, lean the body over to the right. We're going to open up through the left side of the body. Inhale as you come through the center, switch the hands. So right hand or left hand rather, holding right wrist. Exhale, tip to the left. Inhale, come to the center. Exhale, prayer hands coming through the heart. Fold the body forward over the legs. Inhale, lift the belly, halfway lift with the spine. And as you exhale, we're going to transition the body into downward facing dog. So planting the hands, stepping the feet back. Now, as you land here, you're going to take a breath in. And as you exhale, we're going to lower the knees down into tabletop. I'm going to do some tabletop flow here. So you're going to start by inhaling, send the left leg up and back behind you. This first movement we're going to do is going to focus on strengthening the inner leg. So as you exhale, sweep the left leg over to the right. Let the ball of the foot come down, and you might even turn your chin a bit toward your right shoulder. So inner legs engage here. Inhale, send the left leg back up. You might take a slight lift of the heart and the chin, and then again, exhale, sweep the left leg over to the right. Tap the ball of the foot down, and then again, inhale, sweep the left leg back up. Exhale, tap the leg over to the right. One more time. Inhale, sweep the left leg up. And exhale, tap the leg over to the right. Inhale as you bring the left leg back up to the center. We're going to pause there, draw the low front ribs in, reach out through the crown of the head. Now we're going to take the right arm possibly into a lift. You can always stay right here. Or we're going to sweep the right arm back instead of forward. So we often go forward. So you're going to use a little more stabilizing force to sweep that right arm back. Draw the low front ribs in. Spread through your right fingers and keep the gaze soft as you continue to reach out through the crown of the head. I'm going to keep the left leg up, but if the right arm is lifted, go ahead and lower it back down. Now we're going to use some of that tone through the belly to take this shape into downward dog split with the left leg high. So press the right ball of the foot into the mat. Start to bring the hips back just a bit. Tone through the belly, and then float the right knee up as you send your left heel up toward the sky. Now take a nice full breath in, and as you exhale, draw your left knee in toward your chest. Just step the left foot through toward the left wrist. Take your back right knee down. Slide the hands up to the front left thigh, low lunge. You're going to just feel the left heel and the right knee draw a bit toward one another, so stabilizing this shape. Left hand will come toward the left hip, and your right arm's going to reach up by your right ear. Take a breath in, and as you exhale, we're going to start to twist toward the left, and the right hand is going to come to the outside of the left thigh as we start to lean the body forward just a bit. And you can always stay right here. Another option is to take the right elbow and to then maybe hook it to the outside of the left thigh. So that's a little bit of a stronger twist. So just see which one feels most appropriate for you here. Left hand can join maybe right hand in prayer. Now, one more option here, because we're really working with that deep internal strength. So if you want, you can stay right here. Another option to connect into that deep internal strength is to possibly anchor the right ball of the foot and then maybe float the right knee away from the mat as you take the high lunge shape. Take a breath in and a last breath out in either low lunge or high lunge. And we're coming back around to the center. And then we're going to lower the hands down to frame the front foot and step the left foot back into downward facing dog. And just kind of pedal out your knees, pedal out through your feet. Okay, we're going to do that whole flow on the second side. So we're going to lower the knees lightly down to the floor. We're going to start to extend out through the right leg, lifting it up and back behind you. Take a breath in, and as you exhale, we're going to sweep the right leg over to the left, lightly tapping the foot down. Inhale as you float the right leg back up, lift up through the heart. Exhale, sweep the right leg over, lightly tap. Inhale, float the leg, lift up through the heart. Exhale, lightly tap. Inhale, float the leg, lift through the heart. Exhale, swing to the left and lightly tap. Inhale, float the right leg back up. Draw the low front ribs in. stay here or take the left arm and sweep it back behind you. So you can feel the muscles around the spine activate. Keep reaching out through the crown of the head. Okay, we're going to keep the right leg up. As we exhale, lower the left hand down. Now, using that deep core strength, I'm going to press the left ball of the foot into the mat. Your hips just sink back just a small amount. Exhale, float the left knee, reach the right heel up, downward dog split. Now, as you exhale, we're going to curl the right knee in toward the chest, step the right foot through to the right wrist, and lower the back left knee down to the mat. Slide the hands up to the front right thigh. So stabilize your body here, just get your balance, and then take your right hand to your right hip and send your left fingertips up toward the sky. Take a breath in, and then as you're exhaling, we're going to take the left hand toward the outer right thigh as you start to lean the body forward, coming into a revolved position. Now you can stay right here. This pose is excellent. Or you can hook the right elbow, or left elbow rather, outside of the right thigh. Prayer twist, right hand and left hand joining. Can stay right here or press the ball, left ball of the foot into the mat. You draw in with the belly and then float the knee away from the floor. So these lifts are coming from that connection to the center of the body. Take another inhale and exhale here. Okay, and then as you inhale, we're going to come back around to the center. You're in high or low lunge. And then as you exhale, you'll let your hands come down to frame your right foot and step your right foot back into downward facing dog. And then just allowing yourself a few moments to maybe walk up through your knees or your feet, kind of shaking the hips a bit from right to left. Okay, we're going to take a breath in. We're going to exhale and lightly lower the knees again to the tabletop position. We're going to come down to elbows and forearms. So we're going to take the forearm plank. So you can have your hands together in prayer. You can interlock your hands. And then we can walk the knees back a bit. And the knees can stay down onto the floor even. So you walk the knees back and the shoulders are lined up over the elbows. That's one option. Another option is to press the balls of the feet into the mat and begin to elevate up through the knees. Okay, so the hips can create a little bit of that shape of like an arched position. You want to avoid sending the hips really high. So by drawing the pubic bone and the bottom of the chest bone slightly together, that helps to engage the rectus abdominis, which is the most superficial layer of abdominal muscle. So that's a possibility. See if you can keep the hips a little lower though. Take a breath in. Exhale, if the knees are up, lower them down. Let your thighs come down to the floor, hip bones come down to the floor, belly. And then let your chest start to come down. And as that happens, slide your hands back so that they're underneath your lower chest. Draw your tailbone down. Float your chest and your legs into Shalabhasana locust position. Stay here or maybe float the hands as well. Take a breath in. As you're exhaling, your hands and the tops of the feet will come down. Chest will stay slightly elevated. Root the feet and hands. Curl up a little higher into Cobra, Bhujangasana. Spread through your fingers. Feel the strengthening action along the spine. Exhale, downward dog, either through table or drawing the hips straight up and back. We'll all arrive in downward dog. Deep breath in. Deep breath out. Okay, as you inhale, take your gaze upward to that space between your hands and begin to step your feet forward or lightly hop your feet forward. So we're landing in forward fold. Now this is a place where those blocks may come in handy, placing the hands onto the blocks. We're going to do some version of a squat and then like a standing split flow. So you're going to let your weight go into your right foot. You're going to inhale, send your left leg back behind you. So similar to that tabletop position with the leg lifted. We're going to work with inner leg engagement. So this time we're going to exhale, curl the left knee in behind the right knee as the legs both bend. And you can take your hips and start to bring them down closer to the floor as you take this squat. And then as you breathe in, we're going to take the left leg back up, press through the right foot. And then as you exhale, bend both knees, curl the left knee behind the right. Let your hips start to dip down toward the floor. And then again, inhale, send your left leg back up, reach out through the crown of the head. And then exhale, bend both knees, curl the left knee behind the right. Take the hips down nice and low. Okay, and then again, inhale, left leg reaches, crown of the head reaches, and then exhale, curl the left knee behind the right, take the hips down. As you inhale, send your left leg back up behind you, and then exhale, let your left foot come down. Land your left foot next to your right foot, so inner edges of your feet touch. Keep the knees together as you bend your knees into this version of a squat. So the inner legs hug together and the inner edges of your feet root down. So that's an action that we use in the crow pose, as this engagement of the inner legs. Now you can stay right here for a little stronger balance shape. You can use the belly drawing into the spine to help you get the shoulders over the hips and possibly place your prayer hands at your heart. Take your gaze forward, steady your gaze. One more deep breath in. As you exhale, bring your hands down. You can take your hips, lift them up, take your feet a little bit apart, kind of sway out through the hips. We're going to do that flow on the second side. Okay, letting the weight come into the left foot. We're going to inhale, send the right heel back behind us. Reach a bit out through the crown of the head, opening through the back of the left leg. Exhale, bend both knees, curl your right knee in behind your left, and start to take your hips, bring them down. And then inhale as you take your right leg, extend, reach out through the crown of the head, and then exhale, bend both knees, curl your right knee in, and take the hips, dip them down. Inhale, right leg is going to reach, anchor the left foot as you really fully stretch to the back of the right knee, and exhale, bend both knees, curl in and dip the hips down low. And then one more time, inhale, send the right leg back, and then exhale, curl the right knee in, bend the knees, and then inhale, send the right leg back behind you. Exhale, plant the right foot next to the left. Inner edges of the feet touch, especially right at those big toes. Knees stay together as you bend your knees. Come into the squat shape. So you can stay right here, hands on blocks, just working that action of drawing the inner legs together, or maybe coming up so that prayer hands come to heart. Relax your shoulders. Let the sides of your neck be long. Good. Another round of breath in and out. Okay, releasing the hands, sending the hips up, and then separating the feet. Take a moment here, just bow in, and then as you're ready, inhale, lift through the spine. Take halfway lift and exhale as we bend the knees, plant the hands, step the feet back into downward facing dog. All right, take a moment here. So for a moment, I'll have you lower the knees down. So if you're on the carpet, we can use this next pose as a great alternative for the sliding plank flow. We can all do this hover cat the first time around, and then you can use this as an option if you're on the carpet. So we're gonna press the hands into the floor. It's almost like you're hugging the mat with your hands, so that will help to reduce some of the stress in the wrist. You can stay right here, tone through the belly, and maybe float the knees away from the floor. Now you can take this pose right here. You can take the tailbone, draw it under a bit so that the pubic bone curls up toward the bottom of the sternum, and you have a little bit of rounding in your back. Take a breath in, and then you can lower your knees down to the floor. Release through the belly. Stretch the abdominal muscles. Okay, so one option is going to be to repeat that. Otherwise, we are going to want to transition the body through the downward facing dog initially. So the sitting bones start to reach up. Now we'll walk the hands back toward the feet. So we come to forward fold at the back of the yoga mat. So when I'm doing this, I like to make sure my hands are on the mat versus my hands on the blanket. So you can take your hands a little wider than your shoulders. You want to be mindful not to slip. So walk back as much as needed so that your feet end up on the blanket, but your hands are on the mat and you feel stable. Okay. So we're going to take the breath in, and then you're going to start to slide your feet back so that you come into plank pose. And then as you exhale, you're going to slide the blanket back toward the mat. Make any adjustments with your hands and feet. Let's do it again. Inhale, slide the blanket back. Exhale, curl your knees in. Good. Let's do that again. Inhale, reach the legs back out. Plank pose. Exhale, curl your knees in. Good. Take a momentary pause if you like, so you can just settle in for a second and squat. Get the weight out of your wrist. We'll do just a couple more, but just if you need to, just kind of flex and extend through the wrist. Do some finger flicks. You're curling your fingers into your palms and then opening them back out. Okay, let's do 3 more of those. So remember, you can hold even in squat or child's pose, or take that hover cat position. So lots of options for you, right? So take your hands a little wider than your shoulders, and then as you breathe in, start to slide your feet back into plank. And then exhale, curl your knees in. Inhale, send your legs back. And then exhale, curl your knees in. Good. One more time. Inhale, reach out. Exhale, curl in. Okay. And then we're going to walk the feet forward, coming off of that blanket support. And then we're going to walk the hands forward. Straighten out your other blanket if needed. We'll take a second. When we come forward, come into table. We'll all come into table. Let's take child's pose momentarily, just to rest the body, because our next pose will be the crow pose. So just rest for a moment and walk the hands out to the left. We'll give a stretch through the side body. Stretch out through your right arm, right side body. Come through the center. Walk over to the right. Stretch out nice and long through your left arm. Okay, and then come back to the center and then stretch out through both arms equally. I like to keep the pose here just a little bit more active. Okay, take a breath in and out. Inhale, float the hips up. Slide your hands back a bit. Take your knees under your hips and let's transition into downward facing dog. So you're going to press the balls of the feet into the mat and lift the hips up. Okay, on your next inhalation, you're going to bring the gaze upward to the thumbs and start to walk the feet forward. Let's take a breath in, lift through the spine halfway, and exhale as you fold into the legs. Inhale, bend your knees and reverse. As you rise, right hand connects to left wrist. Exhale, tip the body over to the right. Inhale as you come through the center, left hand to right wrist. Exhale, tip to the left. Inhale as you come to the center. Exhale, let your arms open out to the sides. Wide, reach to the chest, inner elbows, inner wrist fingers. Let your hands land on your low back for a moment, thumbs drawing closer together, fingers wrapping around the outer hips. Draw your elbow points toward one another. Take your tailbone slightly down, lift up through your heart. Take a breath in. Okay, and then come back to the center. Okay, so let's take squat pose first. So, because this can be an alternative. So for the squat pose, you might even want to like reach back behind you, bend your knees, reach back behind you. Take your blanket, fold it up once, take your feet wide, rest your heels on the blanket, turn your toes out, and then let's take the hips down nice and low into the garland squat. So I want to offer this as an option in place of the crow pose. So if your wrists have had enough, or you don't quite feel ready to move into that pose, you can stay in this position. We'll all take another round or two of breath here. Okay, we'll all shift to a forward fold. We'll return to this position next, or maybe that crow shape. So coming off your blanket support for a moment in the forward fold. Okay, so we're gonna possibly stay and possibly repeat that. Or another version you might take is the crow. And I'm gonna show you the version where you start with your feet on the blocks. I find this position to actually be a little bit easier to initiate getting into the pose. So you put the blocks on their lowest sides and bring them together. The long edges of the blocks together is great. And then you're going to step your feet onto the blocks. And you're going to bring your inner edges of your feet together, especially those big toes like we did in that squat pose earlier. But this time your knees are going to go wide out as the feet stay together. Okay. Now you want to notice your hands. It can be a tendency for some to bring the hands too close together. So you want to go as wide as your shoulders. My preference is a little wider. So for this version of the pose, we're going to keep the elbows bent so that we're creating almost like a little shelf for the upper shin region. And I want you to think about the shape of a cat spine because that's what we're going to create a bit of when we move the weight forward into the wrist. So you can stay here, you can start to shift more weight into the wrist and hands. Now, if you feel nervous about falling forward, face planting, you're not alone, right? And so you could put a pillow or a bolster or, a blanket or two underneath of the face. So you start to bend at the elbows, shift the weight forward, curl the belly in. You might initially just even have one foot floating away from the block, or maybe both feet floating away from the blocks. The inner edges of the feet, if they're lifted, squeeze together. The block is there for you if you want to end up bringing the balls of the feet back down. Okay. As you're ready, let the balls of your feet come back down. Okay. Let the weight come out of your wrist. And then you can step your feet off of the blocks. All right. Send those blocks out of the way. Okay, now here as you're in that forward fold, you can flip up. Let's just start with right wrist first. Flip up your right wrist. Take the back of the hand to the mat and just anchor in just a bit, just a little stretch for the back of the wrist. Release the right hand, flip up the left palm. Okay, and then just stretch out through the back of the left wrist. Okay, and then inhale, take your spine halfway lift. Exhale, step back, downward dog. Okay, take a breath in. So you can stay here. I want to offer two options: tabletop with a cow tilt or a cobra position. We just want to open up the front of the body. So we're going to give the wrist a break in just a moment, but just maybe come forward and let your hips start to come down. Heart pulse through. Just stretch the abdominal muscles. Okay. We're going to come through table. We're going to shift the hips around, or shift the feet around rather. So when we're coming around, you can adjust your blanket. I'm going to turn out to face the long side of the mat out toward you. So we're going to take the left leg, extend it open, bend your right knee so you have half wide angle, or just stretch the inner legs. Breathe in, reach the arms up, and exhale, tip your body over your left leg, stretching the inner leg line on the left side. So crow pose requires a lot of strengthening in the inner legs. So this will help to neutralize the effect of the engagement we use to help float the feet. Inhale, come back up through the center. Bring your hands forward, walk your hands out. Lean the body forward. Relaxing through your shoulders and softening around your eyes so that the gaze is soft, forehead relaxed. Walk the hands in, lean some weight back into the hands. We're going to switch out the legs. So extend out through your right leg, bend your left knee. Inhale, sweep your fingertips up toward the sky. Exhale, bring your right hand down, lean over. Breathe in and come back up through the center. Stretch your fingertips up. Exhale, bring your hands down, walk them forward, lean the body forward. Okay, and then inhale, start to walk the hands back into the body, lift up. Gonna send the legs forward. We're gonna come down onto the spine now. So let your strap be within hand's reach. You're gonna come down, and as you arrive, point your knees up to the sky. Just do a couple windshield wipers. Okay, so this will be where we'll use the strap. So we're going to unroll the strap, pick up the feet, and take both balls of the feet up onto the strap. Just reclined staff position. Just stretch out through the backs of the legs momentarily. Let the active energy that we created through our practice today just start to settle a little bit so that we still feel energetic, but there's just this deep sense of calm that um, rides along the wave of energy. You feel free to stay here. We're going to slide the feet out on the strap. We're going to come into that middle split position with both legs, but here on our spine, just to bring a little more elongation to the inner leg lines. Reach your tailbone toward the front short side of the mat. Okay, last breath in and out. And start to let your feet slide together. So you're going to walk your hands up the straps. You're kind of collecting the strap as you go. The feet ends up, inner edges of the feet ends up close together, and then you'll allow your knees to bend, hug your knees into your chest, and get just a little bit of rocking on your spine. Okay, feet come down, feet are wide, rock the knees to the right. Stay here, pick up your right foot and cross it over the bottom part of the left thigh, and take a momentary twist here. Release the right foot, bring the knees to the center, knees going to sway to the left. Stay here, pick up your left foot and cross it over your right thigh. Okay, release the left foot, bring the knees back up to the center, sway out the knees a few times, side to side. All right, we're going to extend the legs out long and bring the arms down by the sides. Let the toes fall open. Relax the weight of your body. The more challenging poses aren't necessarily about achieving that particular pose, but more about the discipline that it requires in order to move in the direction of that pose. Regular and consistent practice helps to create openness in the body and helps us to maintain the strength in our bones and our muscles. So we can think about as we work toward more challenging positions, being about the journey of the practice and the discipline, getting on the mat regularly. Okay, bringing your awareness back to your body. Bringing some movement into your fingers and into your toes. Allow your knees one at a time to bend so that your feet come flat to the floor. And roll the body over to the right or to the left, come side lying. You're going to press your hands down and bring your body up to your seat. As you arrive there, let your hands join at your heart center in prayer. The light within me sees and bows to that same light that exists within you. Namaste.